like we had a good crew. Anna, do you want to go ahead and do a roll call?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. Starting off roll call, Innie Augustine. Bruce Crane.
Here.
Bruce Crane present. Steve Fensky.
Steve was not going to be able to make it today.
Gail Hedstrom. Brian Hood. Adam Hutchins. Mark Johnson. I think he mentioned he would be on the way.
Yeah, he'd be late.
Daniel Lightfoot. Paul McDonald.
Present, and I'm going to be in and out. I'm up at the Capitol, and we've got a AMC County Day up there, and so I'll be in and out.
Thanks, Paul. Brianna Mummy.
Yes, present. Good morning, everybody.
Brianna Mummy present. Bill Stahlberger. John Tweese.
I'm present.
John Tweese present. David Wolf.
What's there?
Dave's here. Like I see him.
Mark Dable present. And Melissa Wolf.
I am here.
Melissa Wolf present.
All right, awesome. And I think others will join as we go along. So let's go ahead and get started with the meeting. First thing is along the invitation, and in the notes earlier, Anna had sent out the minutes from our April task force meeting. So hopefully everybody had a chance to review that. Any questions, comments, or concerns with the minutes from April? All right. Not seeing any hands go up. I'm not seeing any. Just check the chat. Nothing in the chat either. So we'll go ahead and approve the minutes, and we'll get them posted to the website. Okay, as far as agenda for today, we'll have the Hopkins Digital Access Initiative. There'll be a presentation on that, on the community efforts there. We have several folks that are on the call with us today to be able to talk about that. Then our next topic will be Women in Broadband, and we'll have a leadership panel on there. And so we'll have Jill and Christy with us, and so glad that they're here with us and made the time to be here. So excited to have that discussion. We'll see, that should take us somewhere past 11. Depending on how things are going, we may or may not take a break. We'll see how things flow. After we come back from that, we'll do some legislative updates. Bree will give us the usual update from the Office of Broadband Development, and then we'll close off with any other new business or things that we need to discuss as a team. And that will be the setup for the call today. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started with our first topic, Hopkins Digital Access Initiative. So thinking we have Rebecca, Carolyn, and Beth. Do we have them with us?
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Awesome. So, well, thank you for being here. We really appreciate you making the time to be here with us. So I don't know if you have a presentation or not, but I will turn it over to you for taking it from here.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
We do a presentation. We'll get that loaded in.
All right, let's see. Hang on a second.
No problem.
I don't use Teams this much as I apparently should. There we go.
Right, it's coming through.
Great. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to speak with you today on the Hopkins Digital Access Initiative. My name is Carolyn Leslie, and I am joined here by my friend Rebecca Crosby, to my left, your right, who together with me is the co-founder of Connecting to Thrive. And we are also joined with Beth Kibbitt, to my right, She's the program coordinator for the Activity Center in the city of Hopkins, Minnesota. Connecting to Thrive is a mission-driven organization that serves as a backbone to support communities engaged in digital access work. The Hopkins Activity Center here serves as the Senior Center for Hopkins. We are here today to introduce the Hopkins Digital Access Initiative. We refer to it as HDAI, which is a collaborative community effort to assess digital access needs in Hopkins and to develop a plan to ensure that community members have the essential digital skills and tools for everyday living and social participation. But before we delve into the initiative, we thought it would be helpful to provide some context about its development. And I'll hand it off to Rebecca.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rebecca Crosby, and I'm excited to share the origin story of the Hopkins Digital Access Initiative with you. Several years ago, I transitioned my career from lawyer and compliance professional to pursue librarianship. During my master's program, my research centered on digital literacy, exploring the profound ways technology challenges affect individuals in their daily lives. During that same time, my mom moved to Hopkins from upstate New York to be closer to our family. While she quickly met people and became active in the community, she faced challenges getting settled caused by technology. Almost every step of the process involved navigating a digital platform of some sort. I was able to help her, but there are so many people who are left without the support they need to navigate the digital world effectively. This realization inspired me to take action. My combination of personal experience, extensive research on the digital divide, and professional background converged to become the catalyst to embark on this work.
I, too, came to this work through a combination of my professional and personal experience. After a career in finance and years as an active community volunteer, I became increasingly more involved with my parents' elderly care. Whether it was doctor's appointments, scheduling, accessing a healthcare portal, online banking, paying bills, I had become so-called the quarterback for the demands and changing technologies for my parents' care. And I often have wondered, and I still wonder, how people do this without the support, without skills, without potentially a daughter to help, or another child, devices, as well as having the time. And I imagine many of you have your own firsthand experience with seeing how technology can be such a frustration for so many. My work with older adults inspired me to pursue this initiative with Rebecca, witnessing firsthand how digital barriers, simple barriers, affect vulnerable populations ignited my commitment to creating meaningful change at the local level where direct action can make the most profound difference.
These personal experiences illustrate the many ways digital technology creates challenges to navigating everyday life. But as we all know, these examples are just the tip of the iceberg. In the fall of 2023, with a little bit of seed money, Carolyn and I formed Connecting to Thrive as an organization. From the beginning, we wanted to find an open lane that was not currently being filled in the digital inclusion field. We dove in to research the landscape. We engaged in deep research, had many meetings, and participated in workshops and conferences. We met with over 80 stakeholders, ranging from a state senator to activities directors in senior living communities. Our approach evolved over time as it became clear that small communities would benefit from digital access planning using a system-level approach. In fact, small communities often have a superpower for this type of work, since they can be nimble at leveraging their strengths to make a deeper impact with a wide ripple effect. This is where Hopkins comes in and where my mom appears in the story again. She was warmly welcomed into the Hopkins Activity Center community. It was there that she got to know Beth Kivett and arranged an introduction. Beth then introduced us to Margaret Green, the head librarian at the Hopkins branch of the Hennepin County Library, and Lindsay Leisman, the adult community and enrichment coordinator with Hopkins Community Education. They all saw the need for more digital access support in the community. They also enthusiastically embraced the approach of a community-wide collaborative initiative. Together with Beth, Margaret, and Lindsay, we formed the Hopkins Digital Access Initiative Steering Committee that drives the initiative forward today and is powered by their deep connections in the community. The initiative has been embraced by Hopkins and supported by the mayor, city council, and other community leaders. I'll let Beth take it from here.
Hi, my name is Beth, and I was thrilled when Carolyn and Rebecca approached me about this topic. I've lived here for 17 years. I grew up in the Twin Cities. I've raised my kids here and really love being immersed in the Hopkins community. In case you haven't had the pleasure of spending much time in Hopkins, I'd like to just share a little bit of background. Hopkins was originally established as the village of West Minneapolis in 1893. It was a train stop or a place to rest your horses for people traveling to Excelsior and Lake Minnetonka in the mid-1800s. It's known for its raspberry fields, hence our Raspberry Festival, and the mills and factories that popped up along Minnehaha Creek. It wasn't until 1947 that Hopkins was established as a city and was the largest in the West Metro at that time. The charm of Main Street has remained a centerpiece for growth and development. It is filled with independently owned businesses, many of which have been operating in town for many, many years. We've had an active business and civic association that provide many community events throughout the year. Hopkins is a small community tucked among several much larger suburbs. It's 4 square miles, has a population of just under 20,000 people. Many people are surprised to learn that it has a 63% rental occupied households, and is 37% of the population is non-white or racially diverse. Median home price is well below that of our large suburban neighbors. Hopkins is known for our small town feel, and we capitalize on our community connections and collaborative spirit. As the program coordinator for senior recreation, I see the need for technology support every single day. I've seen the struggle for seniors to participate in social activities when they lack the digital skills to keep them then at home and unengaged. I've seen their frustration when trying to apply for a job, file taxes, scan a QR code at a restaurant so they can eat. I've sat with seniors crying for help over scams that have taken their entire life savings. These skills are not only keep people from being isolated and lonely, but they can be the difference in their entire health and well-being. It's not just the senior population that struggles to keep up with these digital skills. These skills are needed in every aspect of life and are changing so fast that most of us cannot keep up. So when I met with Rebecca and Carolyn, I jumped at the chance to have Hopkins be the pilot location for this plan.
As Beth's description highlighted, Hopkins provides the ideal community for innovation grounded in collaboration, stakeholder involvement, and community engagement. The Hopkins Digital Access Initiative charts a path forward through a low-cost, sustainable, and replicable blueprint. The initiative will use a structured framework with a comprehensive planful process that includes engaging with stakeholders, assessing community needs, planning actionable and sustainable strategies, deploying these plans, and evaluating their impact. The core of this approach involves connecting community members, businesses, service providers, anchor institutions, civic organizations, and social service agencies to build and strengthen a sustainable ecosystem where digital resources flow to where they are needed most. We look for this approach to create shared benefits for the entire community, since every community sector relies on digital technology to connect with people as customers, clients, volunteers, and employees. During our engagement phase, we've connected with a range of Hopkins stakeholders, from ICA Food, Jobs, and Housing to Comcast, Metro Transit, Hopkins Community Connectors, local tech support providers, and even the organizers of the beloved Hopkins Raspberry Festival. These valuable conversations serve two purposes: They raise awareness about critical digital access challenges and also forge and strengthen relationships essential to building a robust community digital ecosystem. What emerged consistently across these discussions? A clear recognition that digital barriers are preventing many Hopkins residents from fully participating in community life and navigating everyday activities effectively.
This process is designed for the community to identify and implement solutions that will be realistic and effective. And that starts with understanding the current landscape and assessing community needs and experiences. Currently, we are in the assessment phase. Some of the work that's being done is a comprehensive asset mapping, sector identification, and meeting several key stakeholders. Simultaneously, we are identifying digital needs and priorities of the community members. This summer, we will be conducting focus groups, surveys, and outreach. For example, we recently presented this initiative to the Hopkins Business and Civic Association at the annual meeting, and it was met with enthusiasm. Additionally, this morning at the Hopkins Activity Center came out their new flyer for the next couple of months, and on it is, the very cover of it, is a call to ask residents that their voice matters, and we're asking them about, do you struggle with aspects of digital life? So this is the beginning of our focus groups. While we are not at the planning stage yet already, we've heard many times that face-to-face and one-on-one support is invaluable, and Hopkins needs more. We expect that digital navigators will be a key component of the solutions that the community members identify. We also expect that finding funding for these navigators will be truly a critical part of the planning. Throughout this process, we are also building a replicable blueprint that may be used by other small communities in the future. And we are always mindful that low cost and a streamlined system, such as using Google Suite, which we are, will help pave the way for others to embark on their own digital access plan. As we wrap up, we share the slide here that concluded our recent presentation to the Hopkins Business and Civic Association. And it emphasized the importance of community involvement and the benefits of a multi-level stakeholder connection. And what makes our approach different? Why are we unique? Well, we are building a self-sustaining community ecosystem where digital resources, knowledge, and support will flow seamlessly between all. The Hopkins Digital Access Initiative is poised to make the terrific community of Hopkins an even stronger and more vibrant community. Thank you for your interest. And with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for that presentation and that update. That was terrific. Any questions from task force members for the group? Just put a hand up or come off mute. In the meantime, I do have a couple of questions for you. I mean, the work is terrific. I really applaud for what you've done, and it's exciting to see it moving forward. So you talked about, a lot of the residents, particularly senior residents, like have a hard time sort of taking advantage of the digital access or don't have digital. Like, what are some of the barriers that stop them from getting it, from using it?
Pretty much everything. I would say from device to access to the internet to knowledge and skills, whether it's transportation or going to a restaurant or dealing with Medicare, signing up for Medicare. We've got a lot of resources we do offer here, but it was overwhelming, I guess would be the word.
Okay.
And I'll jump in as well. In the connections that we've made thus far in our various interviews, we have been shocked, and it started out actually through the library, the number of residents that will come to the library to get A, access to the computer, and then B, they need support because many of them are in the employment job hunting world, and they either are job hunting, so they need support to apply to a job, and if that means getting on Indeed or applying directly to the company, and some need support with literally formatting the correct cover letter Some need help with that. Some need just help with the software. Residents often, many just have one device, a smartphone, so they don't necessarily have two devices, which is far easier on a computer to do the job applications. And then additionally now, and many of you may know, with employment, so much of the onboarding of the work that needs to be done, even if somebody applies for a job and the job itself doesn't require technical skills, digital skills once they get the job, they have to be digitally literate to onboard their own work, because employers are now asking employees, future employees, to do most of their own onboarding. And so there's support that's needed at all levels just to get people working, but there's this barrier of software, device, skills, language, and honestly, kind of patience, time, someone to sit with the individual to support.
And I will also jump in and say there are great digital navigators here. People, it's part of their daily job, and it's siloed just by necessity. It's happening out in the community, but people don't know about each other, and they don't, and people in the community don't necessarily know where some of that assistance is happening. So part of it is being aware of where to access the support and making those connections.
That makes sense, and I love the fact you brought up the digital navigator. So, is part of it is as you're connecting different components of the community, from businesses to library, for example, or other entities, that is making sort of those navigators available, or having people more aware that there are folks that can help with this, and this is where you go get help. I mean, is that part of it?
Yeah, that's part of it. And then I think a unique part of what we're doing is we are reaching really widely and broadly. And the reason we talk to the Raspberry Festival leaders is that's an all community festival. And their concern is they are not reaching the entire community because their advertising and materials are not reaching certain sectors because of digital barriers. So the Raspberry Festival leaders would like to figure out ways to break down some of those digital access barriers. So it's on both sides. And they are also very interested in suggestions on how to redo their website to make it more accessible for people. So it's not just individuals needed to get skills, it's also supporting those in the community, the sectors, the businesses, in identifying ways that they can be part of the ecosystem too.
Got it.
And
Again,
one last comment is, I was just going to say that in this community, 63% are in rental, in apartments, rentals. So you can have a whole brand new building or a building near Main Street where potentially the best Wi-Fi is in the lobby, but not necessarily the individual apartments. And if you have new people coming and going from the apartments, and 63% of the community are in rentals, there's kind of a void that can happen, whether it's either the device, the actual speed of the internet, maybe having lower cost broadband or internet. So there's language barriers. There's just kind of multiple layers that you can just tell will happen. And recently we connected with the community connectors of Hopkins, and there's one that serves the Somali community and the other with the Latin community. And we spoke with them and asked them how do they reach their members in the community, and most of the work that they do to get information out on community happenings is through the device or through the app called WhatsApp. So that was a new kind of takeaway for us. So when we want to communicate with them, we know now to communicate with the connectors, and maybe we send a flyer or even a short video, so that will help community members understand what's going on and where someone could necessarily potentially reach some support.
Got it. We do have a question in the chat, and great presentation. It's wonderful. How have internet service providers engaged in your community efforts and outreach?
Well, we were really lucky because we, in our dig deeping, we reach out to a lot. We had the pleasure of connecting with Stacy from Comcast, the engagement officer, and she came here. It was 2 weeks ago. She sat. We are in the activity center right now, and she came to the activity center and sat. And we talked at length about the community, about kind of what do you call them? The zones, lift zones. She explained to us, which I didn't know, some of the Internet Essentials program, the two different speeds and price points. That was new to the community. I mean, people know of it, but to get everybody talking about it is super helpful, and even provided those flyers in different languages. So
It was that was
really
productive
great.
and enjoyable meeting
And helpful.
with Comcast.
Got it. Thank you. So you said earlier, when did you start this initiative?
So we started in the falls when the steering committee came together, but our initial meeting with Beth was about a year ago,
Okay. Yep.
a little over a year ago.
Then the presentation to the city council was on this past December.
Correct.
We we really wanted the city council and the mayor in the know and involved before we launched anything. Before we went into the community, we felt it was really important to get their support. And we did.
That's awesome. And then, so you did some presentations, got a lot of interest, and people sort of said, yeah, we need this, and we need to make this happen. And so, and again, the initiative was formally started in February. Now, have you seen some early results, early wins in the last 2 months or so?
I would say yes, because we have seen relationships form before our eyes, with having different people in the room, and then having someone say, oh, we're putting on a presentation on scams, let's say, the library, and then community ed will say, oh, I didn't know that. I can let my people know. So just things like that happen all the time. And I consider that a win.
Awesome. Last two questions. One is, so would you say this is the model that other communities should pursue as well, or is it just this really just works for Hopkins? I mean, what are you? I know it's kind of a generic question, but any there?
We truly, our purpose is to create a model that could be replicable across the state of Minnesota for small communities. And the reason Hopkins is so ideal is that it really models a small community. I recognize it's in the Twin Cities, but it's just a very unique community in the Twin Cities, because it has a lot of elements that are similar to a small community. And we consider Hopkins a pilot, but also, the true focus of our work at the moment. And while we're doing the work here, we are documenting it all. We're creating templates. We're creating the resources and brand kit, all sorts of things that could be handed over to another community to start from scratch in their own community and build what they need based on their own community culture. I mean, this is Hopkins. There are other communities with their own, perhaps it's not the activity center, perhaps it's the library that would be kind of the central focus for that community. We don't know, but it needs to be built based on the community and customized for it.
Got it. Awesome. That's great. And we'll certainly come back to you, especially as we do our annual report, and maybe even highlight this as a model that we could take a look at in the future. And very last question is the same question I ask sort of all our presenters. Part of it is thank you for being here and being able to do the presentation. As a task force, one of the things we're trying to do is kind of educate ourselves on all the things that are happening across the state, what models are working, not working, what are some things we could recommend to the governor's office as well as to the legislators, as they get into the next session, et cetera. So what would, how could we help you, right? Like, is there anything else you'd like for the task force to know besides, kind of what you presented today?
I think digital navigators rise to the top of every conversation that we have, and funding for that or finding ways to get more is really what I view as the top priority for success.
Got it.
I would also add that we never ever started this with the concept of, oh, we're going to go to a small community and tell them what to do and what to fix. We ourselves are not incredible techies. I am grateful to have 3 20-year-olds that are my tech support when I need it. And so we came to it with, let's kind of really wrap our arms around the community. And we were very, very fortunate sitting next to Beth Kivett, who runs this activity center. And you didn't speak about it, but how many people come through this center daily, roughly?
A few hundred at least for seniors, but
so 200-ish seniors coming daily to this activity center, which is literally parked kind of right central off of Main Street in this community, this vibrant community. That connection and her respect that she has in the community, as well as the library, Margaret's respect, the work that she's done, as well as Lindsay at Community Ed in the school district. So we feel very fortunate to have connected with stakeholders that care. They care about the community. They live here, they work here. And so it's been a bonus to have this coalition together. That was our plan. That was our plan. We got really lucky with the people.
I think we got really lucky. I could never do this. My job does not have the hours in it to do what they're doing. So we're very lucky to be their guinea pig.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for your time and, for kind of putting a presentation together, being here in front of us and kind of spending the time to educate us a bit. But thank you so much. And for sure, like I said earlier, this is something that we will certainly be helpful for us as we think about, recommendations and doing assessments of what's happening across the state. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Take care.
Yeah.
Okay, we're running a little bit ahead of our agenda, but I do see our next 2 presenters are both on, so that's great. And we can maybe even give them some time back in the day. So I believe we have Jill Huffman with us and Christy Westbrook. And the next topic will be women in broadband, and really kind of getting their perspective as they're industry leaders and the role women play in broadband here in the state. So I'm really excited to have them on board, or at least on the presentation with us. So Jill and Christy, I think I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you today to talk about a super topic that is super important and something that both Jill and I feel really strongly about, is how we continue to recruit more people into the broadband industry.
Yes, agreed. Thanks for having us today. We're excited to share more about what we do to promote more women in the broadband space and some of the challenges we face.
Next slide, please. So just a little bit about myself. So I'm the CEO and General Manager at CTC. I've been here since 2007. At this point, my entire career has been spent in the telecommunications industry. I have worked in pretty much every discipline, with the exception of I've never actually hooked a customer up out in the field or made anything connected in a network. But other than that, I've pretty much been in every different discipline of the telecommunications industry. And so as I serve now as the CEO, I love to look at what our new leadership and upcoming leadership looks like, keeping certainly women in the forefront of that. I am a working mom, I always say, to a 15-year-old, and I live in the Brainerd Lakes area on the lake, and just overall excited to be a broadband advocate in our industry. Next slide. So just a little bit about CTC. So we were formed in 1952 to bring rural communities access to telephone services. And we find that today we're doing the exact same thing 70 years later in getting service to the most unserved locations in the state of Minnesota. And we have used pretty much every type of federal and state funding that that we can make sense and make work into a financial model. And so we've had a decade of partnerships in grant funding. So as of today, 146.6 million in federal, state, and local government and CTC investment to connect 8,742 homes and businesses in Minnesota. Since 2014, we serve 21,000 cooperative members. Today we have 5,652 miles of fiber plus 1,700 miles of managed middle mile fiber, which you'll see to the northeast side of the service territory on our maps. We serve residential members that spread across seven counties in Minnesota, and we have business members in 39 counties, plus 10 additional counties in 6 other states. And so you can see our primary footprint, but then also see how we have partnered with the Northeast Services Co-op to be able to use the middle mile fiber to bring last mile services to business and residential customers in that network. Next slide, please.
And a little about me. I am the CEO of Spring Grove Communications and My Broadband, as well as the COO of Broadband Operations at My Energy. It's 2004 with an accounting background, and through a company that's evolved with partnerships, moved into a vice president of operations role. So like Christy, I've kind of done a little bit of everything. I'm not afraid to also throw on my boots and jeans and go out on a fiber cut or locating when need be. We're a small company, so we've worn a lot of hats throughout our careers. One of the reasons I'm very passionate about expanding broadband is for the mental health abilities that broadband can bring into every home. So we know in rural America, if you go to town to do something, everybody in town knows you're doing it. And so where mental health is concerned, not everybody wants to be known for being parked at the mental health clinic getting help. So we believe broadband is a way to help promote mental health awareness throughout our membership. Next slide, please. So Spring Grove Communications is a cooperative in Spring Grove, Minnesota, one of the first in 2009 to deploy fiber to the home. And My Broadband is a partnership of 2 broadband cooperatives as well as an electric cooperative to expand broadband to and underserved locations throughout southeast Minnesota and northeast Iowa. We currently have just over 3,000 broadband subscribers. We have secured $55 million in grant funding between federal and state programs. We are currently constructing 1,600 fiber optic miles for 2,600 additional passings, and we provide broadband voice, video, as well as device support and repair services throughout our territory. Next slide.
So just to start, we thought we would share just some interesting statistics about women in the telecom industry and what we're seeing today. So 10 to 40% of the global telecom workforce are women, but with most companies reporting much less than 40%. Less than 30% of technical roles are held by women in 70% of the telecom organizations that we're reporting. 12.3% of the telecommunications engineers are women, and 36.7% of the telecommunications analysts are women. And women remain underrepresented in our industry, especially in technical and leadership roles. Next slide.
So some changes in the broadband industry we feel are helping women take on more of these leadership roles is historically, at least when I started, most of the general managers and CEOs had come from networking or outside plant, traditionally, telephone-based companies, very technical in the background. But as we've seen increased expansion into competitive areas and our service has become about the excellent experience, workforce challenges, every role now is much more technical than it was when I started. So our customer service reps are tech support desks. They help customers with everything from taking payments to getting their internet back up and running to why doesn't their computer work or why doesn't their iPad do what it's supposed to. So they're not just collecting payments or smiling and talking about what's going on in the community, although they do plenty of that as well. We see every role now as an extremely technical role, which is making it harder to find a skilled workforce to take on all of those positions. There's quickly advancing technology changes and certainly regulatory challenges as well as opportunities that have come up. But it allows more opportunities for those of us with diverse backgrounds, finance, HR, those types of roles to take on leadership roles in the new and evolving broadband space. Next slide, please.
So just the women roles that we see in the broadband industry. So in the leadership and policy area, we really have seen some very influential leaders shaping regulations and accessibility. I think a great place to point to is when Jessica Rosenworcel was the FCC chair and represented the FCC very strong, very bold and out in the open. And I think she was really somebody that a lot of women looked up to in her role. We also are very lucky at NTCA to have the leadership of Shirley Bloomfield. If you get an opportunity, Shirley continues to be named one of the most influential women in Washington, D.C. And so for the National Telecommunications Cooperative Association, having a woman lead that organization has been really powerful. And then to see her accomplishments out in Washington, D.C., also somebody that a lot of people look up to in our industry and not just women. So digital equity and inclusion, we really see women leading those efforts to close the digital divide and doing that through works with their nonprofits and their advocacy groups that they're tied to. And so we do see women as a real leader in inclusion and equity. Corporate leadership, women CEOs and executives that have been driving broadband companies. And although we're represented, even you'll see in Minnesota when you look at the total scope of the MTA companies of how pictures, if you would go back 20 years ago, of the board of directors tended to be all male because those were the only CEOs that were there, that now you're seeing more and more women in those photos, which shows a real accomplishment. It shows a lot of change in a lot of rule board mindsets too, of technically cooperative boards. I think in the past were more men that were serving on their board of directors, and today, and I'm excited to say this, our board is led by a woman, and our board of directors has 3 other women on it. And so that has really changed. Technical and operational roles. You're seeing more women CTOs across the industry. You're seeing more and more people engineering and getting involved in it. Today at CTC, we have 100 employees, and we have 1 female technician, but she's the top level of the technician in our company. And I think other women just starting out in our organization look up to her. And we also have a central office technician, former central office tech, still working in the organization. And she was the first central office tech that we saw. So more technical roles there. And then just industry advocacy and network. And we're going to talk a little bit about our NTCA Women in Telecom program and what we're doing to support career growth and visibility for women in our industry. Next slide.
And I will just add, having Bree and her team at OBD, as well as those who came before her, it's a wonderful team that we've worked with, and we appreciate obviously the staff at OBD, and Bree has been a great addition to work with us and the challenges and working through all of the new and exciting things going on in the broadband space. But the NTCA Women in Telecom group is a program dedicated to supporting and advancing women in rural broadband through professional growth, networking, and leadership development. Program provides a space to connect, share experiences, navigate challenges together, fostering mentorship, networking opportunities, as well as recognition programs. And its members, as members, we aim to create a more dynamic and inclusive industry. And Christy is a fantastic chair and champion of this group. I'm excited for the things that she's brought to the team this year. We've expanded programming and content and opportunities to share our voices, what our challenges are, what our struggles are, and how we can work together to navigate those, both at work and just generally in life. So we have blog posts that are going out to encourage others that to open up and share what's going well and maybe what's not going quite so well, so that we can work on problems together. And kudos to Christy for the work she's doing chairing this group. Next slide,
Thanks, Jill.
please.
Thanks, Jill. This Women in Telecom at NTCA is very, very near and dear to my heart because of the journey that it's been on. So, WIT started in 1990, but it was just this small group of these determined women that wanted to be seen in a male-dominated industry, and they found themselves isolated. They didn't have a lot of opportunities to exchange ideas or share their challenges. And so that group of 12 women gathered for the first time in a Women in Telecom luncheon, now that we call Our Time, and had their first dialogue and like mutual support with one another. And I remember that the 12 women that were gathering and the curiosity of why we would be creating a Women in Telecom group and why a WIT program was needed. And so then it kind of expanded out from there, and we started having meetings at twice a year at both the Our Time and the Fall Conference. So now there's always a Women in Telecom event that all are welcome to attend. We open it up for anyone who wants to come in and take in the content of the programs. And as WIT continued to grow and we continued to advance more programs and put in more mentorship and do our fly-ins and webinars, we now have over 500 participants in the Women in Telecom group. And I'll just share one specific experience. When we do our fly-ins out to Washington, D.C., we went to the FCC and they told us that it was the first time that they had a complete group of women walk into the FCC in the telecommunications industry, all represented by females. And so that was a pretty cool moment because just being recognized that way at the FCC felt and was a pretty cool moment in the history of WIT. Next slide. I can talk a little bit more about the WIT program. So if I want to start with the mentoring program. So we have a formal mentoring program where we pair people based on what they want to learn with what the person mentoring thinks they can provide. And so it goes through kind of a selection process, and then we connect those. We're in our second full round of formal mentoring program. We have 40 mentors working with mentees, so a total of 80 people involved in the program right now. And the stories that come out of the mentoring program are just incredible, and the connections that these women make and the things that they've been able to provide to someone looking to grow and move up in their career and in their industry. And so really a special mentoring program. We do a book club. We all then talk about the book and what the book inspired us. We're doing a book right now that's very female STEM focused and really discovering some of the technical sides of growing women in the industry. And then the last that I talked about is the fly-in that takes place every July, and we spend a full day of advocacy on the Hill at the FCC working with RUS, and so we really try to extend our voices out during that time to push programs that are needed within our industry and advocate for the programs that impact Minnesota, like the BEAD program that Bree and her team are working so hard to continue to work on and understand. It's a lot to navigate. Next slide.
And so we thought we'd share some of the challenges as well as how we see some possible ways to combat each of these challenges. So gender biasing and stereotyping limits the opportunities in technical and leadership roles. So collectively continuing to educate people regarding the roles and the qualifications and how those of us who have gotten into these roles, how we got here, and the more we share our story, the more we open the doors to other individuals to achieve the same thing. Lack of female role models and mentors. There can be fewer guides for career growth. It can be harder to find that mentor to help you on your journey through the industry. And so encouraging participation in mentorship programs and making people aware of those programs and where they exist. And I think for a lot of us, work-life balance struggles, demanding schedules, caregiving, expectations, balancing all of the things that we all do in life. And so at my companies, we're very focused on our wellness programs and bringing in educational speakers on all fronts. So financial wellness, mental health wellness, physical wellness, and the importance of having hobbies and that work-life balance and how it makes us better at work. Christy, you want to?
Sure. We can talk a little bit about wage disparity. The pay gaps that are compared to our male counterparts still exist today. And so we really do need to encourage companies, specifically in our sector of the industry, to use the results of the National Telecommunications Cooperative Association's compensation survey. Those results then driven by what nationwide averages look like. And, you continue to see the difference between the male and female counterpart wage disparity and the gaps. It is edging closer, but there still is a defined gap that exists there. Sometimes women are held back because of harassment, discrimination, and that still exists. There's an impact on just their career progression and the safety they have in their career. Continue to provide a culture of promotion of safety and training and educate on harassment, and then just limited opportunities for women to network. There's barriers to that formal and informal networking, and so try to advertise and promote more events and attendance at events. A lot of women tell their story of how they struggle getting their manager to approve them to attend any of those larger events that would offer them more career progression training.
And limited access to training and development, kind of in that same path. If you're not allowed to travel to industry events or to those training programs, it hinders your ability to get those skills to advance and develop the leadership roles. So associations promoting learning opportunities, both virtual and in person, getting the word out better about both options and why it's important to send our teams to those types of trainings. Cultural and social barriers. So sometimes regional norms will discourage women's participation. So finding advocates from other areas, not just in broadband, to help promote participation in the opportunities that exist. And there's just kind of an overall perception that it's a male-dominated industry, which can discourage people from entering the industry or for retention. And so many times perception is reality. And so making sure that we are doing everything we can to break down that perception, highlighting women in the industry, their roles, and what they do within their organizations to help break down those perceptions is important. Next slide. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to present our perspective. We know that every story is different. Christy and I, as we prepared, we're kind of sharing, and I was very fortunate that I had a previous general manager who came from outside plant, and when he was promoted to a general manager in our partnership, he came to me and said, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about outside plant, telephone switching, and circuits, and you're going to teach me everything you know about regulatory and accounting. And so for me, that was a very fortunate experience of somebody reaching out that wanted to learn something that I knew and offering to learn something that he knew. But not everybody gets that experience, and not everybody has the benefit to work with somebody that's willing to step out and provide those services. And so some of the challenge is just continuing to tell our stories, to encourage other people on the successful stories, and to break down barriers on the unsuccessful stories. Christy?
I just would like to thank you all for your time too. If you ever are curious about more about the WIT program, I'd be happy to offer at any time how we've created it and built it within our industry.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that terrific overview, and great to get to both of you, get to know both of you through this effort. So, from the task force, questions, comments for our panel? You can put a hand up or come off mute. Either is okay. Okay. Well, as people are thinking about it, I do have some questions. So, one of the areas is, again, you talked about a lot of the barriers and the challenges, and some of it is perception, some of it is real. But especially in technical or leadership roles, how do we encourage more women to be able to be excited to enter into those spaces?
I could maybe share one of the ideas that we have right now, and that is we are going to start a telecom 101 sort of classes, and we're going to break that into departments of, a marketing 101, but we're going to do an outside plant 101. We're going to do a networking 101, but what we're going to do is take women that are already in those roles in our industry, and they're actually going to teach that piece of coursework out to other women in whoever decides to attend. And all of those classes are going to be virtual for our industry. And so women won't have that barrier that they have to travel to attend that. And so that's one way I think is having women see other women through training opportunities. The other thing is partnering it really closely with the technical colleges. If you see somebody who stands out, give us a call. I mean, we have CLC here locally in Brainerd, and we'll tell them if you see a great student who shows these technical capabilities, call us. We'll put them in an apprenticeship program or have them be an intern. And so to partner with your local colleges, especially those technical colleges, can really create some good benefits. That's my experience.
And for us, it's making sure that we go out to career fairs. And so my team, I'm privileged to have several women leaders on my team, and making sure that we go out and talk about all the different things that we do, including in my case, I've been in our head end at midnight when we're doing channel changes, racking and stacking equipment and pulling wires just like anybody else. And the more we talk about it and the more we share, it just breaks down the barrier that it's not as intimidating as it might appear to be. My background is from tech startup companies, so I've probably lived in male-dominated industries for my whole career, but I just think the more we go out and we talk, and we're looking at always trying to bring in interns, and through their internship, move them through every department in the company, because we believe at 18, 19, 20, it's hard to know what you want to do for the rest of your career. And so we try to put together an internship where they spend 4 weeks in every department in the company getting immersed in. That includes the technical side as well.
Interesting. So just to that point, is there a particular time in an individual's career, early or later, that it's the turning point? You go I think this is for me. Do you feel that there's a particular time you can target, or is it just, it depends on the individual?
So it might depend on the individual, but I would say that for us, when we bring somebody into our now apprenticeship program that we have, and so that would be a level 1 installer or technician, when somebody comes into that, we typically know within 90 days if they're showing the capacity to be able to learn the skill to do the job. And we also know that after about a year, they know if they want to do that job. And so I would say once they get to the end of their year, they're either in or out in that part of it. But for us, we kind of see that first 90 days as critical, and does it click when you're out showing them the different pieces of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would also share, we tell new hires it's about a year till you feel really comfortable in the space. And so don't give up too soon, because we use a lot of acronyms and we forget that people haven't been there for the 20 years that we've all been there. So 2 months is 2 years in our world of employment history. and to just really let yourself be immersed in it. And when you get to that year mark, we kind of find that people are either in the industry for life, or they've decided it's not for them and they're going to go try something else. And so we do see people move laterally and through departments, but really once they've developed the love for the broadband space, they tend to stick with it for a very long period of time.
That's good to hear. That's exciting. And for me, even just connecting the dots between, I know both of you were on the previous panel and this one, as these communities potentially sort of continue to like have their own initiatives and these digital navigators. Part of it is also getting the word out, like, hey, this is a potential career option you could take, and it's a really good one as well. And there's a lot of local company like both of you have that you may want to engage in. So good. Other questions? Comments? Well, I'm going to ask you, Sarah, the same thing I asked the previous panelists, like, which is, any last words you want to leave with us, number one, and then number two, what can we do for you as a task force, right? As you know, we kind of are going around virtually throughout the state, having different voices, different topics, getting ourselves educated, and really kind of getting informed so that we can put together some immediate recommendations for the governor's office and the legislators. So any thoughts you wanna leave us with, and request as well?
Sure, I can just say I would just ask for your continued advocacy on a state and federal front, in keeping the digital equity programs and the diversity programs that are needed in our industry at a forefront when you're looking at our total program and our total work that we're doing in the state. I would also say just to ask all of you to just highlight the WIP program. If you have individuals that are females talking to you about getting interested in the program, I would highlight this. There's information on the NTCA website. You can go and read about WIT. You can also look at what upcoming books we're going to read. You can jump into our LinkedIn channel, all of those things. And so I would just ask that. And then final closing thoughts, for all of you, is just to keep it top of mind. It is something that does exist today. And I think the more that we keep top of mind of how we are treating people and how we're understanding how we should treat people is the most important work that we can do every day as far as just being a good person.
Yeah, I echoes Christy's thoughts. It's sharing the information that the program exists and encouraging people to participate in the program, that the tools and the resources are there, and we have to help people find them and use them, and keep aware that we all need to help mentor each other, and we need to provide that space for people to enter an industry that may seem unenterable to them, and that there are those of us that are willing to come out and talk to them and share our story and our experiences and what it's like to work in the space is half the battle, I think. And if you ever hear of a group that needs to hear more about us, we're always happy to speak to that group and share what we know and share our resources.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I actually did have it in my notes. We will make sure that the WIP program, we kind of make more people aware of that, whether it's in our report and other things. For sure, we'll do that. But again, thank you so much for making the time. I know both of you are super busy, but you made the time to be here with us and prepare a presentation. So really do appreciate you being on here with us. So again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Teddy.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Okay. Well, good. Those are two really good discussions. Really enjoyed them. Hopefully, you did the same as well, and lots of learning here as well. So, with that, it's 11:06. Let's take call it a 9-minute break, and then we'll get back together at 11:15, and we will get started with the legislative update. Thank you.